They told you focus was about productivity. They sold you planners, morning routines, workspace hacks, and dopamine detox kits. They made it a lifestyle. Neat, controlled, commercial. But Machiavelli never taught focus like that. He didn't view attention as a tool for peace or progress. He treated it like a weapon, sharp, cold, violent. Not the meditation pillow version of focus. They sold you that. He saw something darker. And you're here because deep down you already know the version they gave you is a lie. If that hits something true, subscribe now. This isn't for people who meditate with music. It's for the ones whispering war in their silence. Here's what they never wanted you to learn. Focus is a form of domination. Not self-care, not gentleness, not balance. Powerful people don't use attention to finish to-do lists. They use it to seize territory in the world and in the minds of others. They don't aim to be organized. They aim to be unreachable. The average man wakes up inside someone else's story. He scrolls, he reacts, he gets distracted by the next noise, desperate, fragmented, exposed. He's not dumb. His attention isn't weak because he lacks intelligence. It's because he treats it like a servant, not a sovereign instrument of war. Machiavelli understood this, that focus is not about what you're working on. It's about what you're ignoring, what you're cutting, what you're resisting, and most of all, what you're willing to sacrifice. The average man adds more strategy apps. The powerful man subtracts everything. Everyone wants tight routines. Nobody wants to eliminate possibility. But power doesn't come from options. It comes from eliminated options. The distracted man is leaking power. The focused man becomes unknowable. And that's when he becomes dangerous. So, the first rule is simple. You want more focus? You must become less available. Not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically, digitally, and energetically. Comment below. Are you available to everyone, or are you starting to vanish? Don't say you want focus if you still respond fast. Don't say you want control if you still engage chaos at the pace it demands. You don't owe the world your notifications. You don't owe everyone your reply. You owe yourself reduction. Power belongs to the man who's not everywhere, not to the man who's managing time. Time management is for predictable people, and predictable people are prey. Focus, in Machiavelli's world, was how a ruler spotted threats, penetrated defenses, and enforced silence. The modern world? They want you on Instagram at 7 a.m., answering DMs you don't remember inviting. They want your brain at half battery, because a tired man never builds a kingdom. He babysits the one someone else designed for him. So, what do you cut? Start here. Cut noise. Cut people who joke about your intensity. Cut apps that don't return value. Cut projects that don't expand reputation or wealth or reach. Cut relationships that feel like holding rooms for weakness. Cut decisions that don't scare you. Let the world read that as cold. Let them say, you've changed. They're right. Comment below. I subtract to ascend, and if you're about that life, subscribe. This channel is your war room now. Here's the second thing they lied about. They told you focus is achieved through balance, through centering. No. Focus is violence against distraction, a kind of cold-blooded war against your lower self. Focus is an act of elimination. It is not a behavior, it is a character. And most men never adopt it fully because they're addicted to emotional balance. Machiavelli wouldn't call it balance. He'd call it weakness, dressed in virtue. Balance is the language used to sell people a comfortable life. But power, it has never existed in the hands of the well-balanced. Power is built by the man willing to lose social ease to win mental edge. You don't tame distraction, you kill it. Not softly, not gently, coldly, like a prince eliminates a threat. This is a hostile act. Delete the app, disable the thread, silence the noise, block kindly. Say nothing, never circle back, and mean it.
Because the man who can remove rises. They don't see your removal as power immediately. They see it as silence, as distance, as withdrawal. And then a few weeks later, they're still checking if you're around, still hoping you break, still waiting to see if you come back. And you don't. That's when it hits them. Your silence was never submission. It was strategy. Subscribe if this is reminding you of who you're becoming. And now let me tell you the most important principle of all. Only the man who controls his attention controls his reputation, because everything you answer, engage, or tolerate declares something about your hierarchy of value. You communicate status by what you ignore, and attention is the loudest way you declare what matters to you. If you're always engaging low-tier conflict, you've already lost rank. If you feel the need to explain basic choices, you've already fallen. If you reply too fast, show up too often, or explain boundaries to people beneath them, you've given up the one thing powerful people protect above all else: psychological leverage. We're not done. We're just sharpening now. If you're with this energy, like this video. But more importantly, cut something today. Not tomorrow, not when it's perfect, today.
You want to know what a focused man looks like? He doesn't chase goals. He eliminates distractions until the only thing left in front of him is the path. There is no decision to make because the decision's been made in the shadows. He doesn't move fast. He moves deadly. When he enters a room, people notice something they can't explain. Not presence, not size, but intention. Because most people are wandering, they walk in with energy scattered across opinions, tasks, guilt, and screens, but a focused man is compressed. He's dense, held tight by silence, purpose, and disregard for approval. Focus isn't about finishing a task. It's about radiating an energy that tells the world, I'm not available. Comment "I'm not available" below if you've ever walked into a room and watched the tone shift. If you want to radiate that, here's what you must become: the hidden one. That's how Machiavelli put it. Not loud, not emotional, not everywhere. Selective, silent, surging underneath. He advised royalty: never let them see your next move. Never show how your mind moves, because when they can predict you, they can sabotage you. But when they guess, they fold before you even play. We were raised to be visible, show up, be loud, grow your online footprint, but Machiavelli believed in positional warfare. He believed in disappearing on purpose long enough for your presence to become a question, not a resource. That's the strategy you've never been taught. You want focus? Then stop being locatable in minds that offer no reward. Withdraw, and withdraw hard. Let people wonder if you're slipping or rising, and then return so sharp they don't recognize the version you became. Focus has one rule: the less they can access, the more they talk. The more you're visible, the more they dilute you. So restrict yourself like royalty. Be selective with your replies. Push your phone into exile. Unfollow 90% of content that doesn't make you sharper. Ghost everyone who checks in but doesn't sharpen. The crowd laughs at that because the crowd is owned by noise. But let them laugh. They all check your profile when you're silent. They all notice when you've vanished long enough and return focused. That's when you break the algorithm of their expectations. That's focus, not the version with music playlists and breathing apps, the version that's earned in blood, in solitude, in refusal. You can breathe to calm your mind. Machiavelli would tell you to sharpen it until it becomes a blade. Focus is about sovereignty, and sovereignty doesn't answer to urgency. Subscribe if you feel that shift happening right now. The algorithm doesn't need more likes. You need to leave the algorithm behind. Let's go further. Let's make this real. You are either shaping time or it's shaping you. The man without ritual is a man who leaks energy at the edge of each hour. Machiavelli structured power like a city. Walls intact, schedules defended, movement methodical. Today's world, it trains men to wander into each day like tourists, scrolling by sunrise, bouncing between notifications, reacting to what's been placed in front of them. But kings don't browse. Warriors don't drift. They don't greet the day gently. They dominate it with rituals that cut drift at the throat. Comment, I build rituals if you've ever moved like a king instead of a pawn, even for a day. And if you haven't, we begin now. Here is your structure. Wake. Don't check. Don't scroll. Don't react. Begin with imposed stillness. Pen, paper, one intention. Block 3 hours. No calls, no replies, no noise. Not for productivity, not for dopamine control, for strategic solitude. Let others flood their brain with reels. You flood yours with command. Add pressure before the world can. Set impossible deadlines. Start before you're ready. Commit in public. Bet your pride, your money, your name. Because if your focus isn't state-forced, it must be self-imposed warfare. Machiavelli once said, luxury makes soft men. Comfort is the fastest way to destroy what your ambition is trying to build. You think you need balance. You don't. You need conflict, directional conflict. You need fire under your chair, shame on your ego, and one mission so demanding that it wipes out all the maybe-laters. Let go of what's cute. Hold on to what's cutting. You either govern time or time weakens you until your habits rot your throne. Subscribe if you're pushing your calendar to obey you, not the other way around. You belong here. We approach our third weapon now, secrecy. Machiavelli understood that mystery multiplies power. A predictable man is controllable, but a man in silence, they fear him even in absence. He said a prince must not make himself too accessible because availability signals poverty, not of material, but of identity. Your attention is your currency, and powerful men don't spend gold on things that don't move empires. You kill your focus when you explain too much, when you justify moves that don't require validation, when you announce things you haven't finished, when you give your enemies the privilege of your plans. But the king speaks rarely, because by the time they hear about his move, it's already changed the game. Cultivate that level of velocity. Let your silence start rumors. Let your quiet hours raise questions. Let your absence become architecture. When you vanish and they still study what you might be building, that's quiet supremacy. If you've ever moved like that, where your stillness made people uncomfortable, drop a comment. If not, subscribe and become that man. That's your next phase of evolution. You don't need to say I'm grinding. You let output say it. You let your new look announce it. You let the way you walk into a room, unsmiling, unreadable, unstoppable, turn heads without trying.
There's a reason they mock those who move in silence, because they don't understand them. And we've taught society to fear what it can't decode. But Machiavelli would tell you that's perfect, because confusion equals power. When they can't predict you, they surrender to the mystery of your direction. You stop being part of the crowd. You start becoming the man the crowd dissects. People will ask, where have you been? The correct answer is, ahead. Not because you're running, but because you walk without waiting. That's the hidden effect of operating outside their rhythm. They don't feel your moves, they feel your absence. You stop updating them. You don't send links or explanations. You appear less, speak less, respond late. And with every small withdrawal, you reclaim a small piece of territory inside your mind. Machiavelli prized control, not over land, over perception. A prince, he said, must not just win, he must appear inevitable. And in today's world, you do that by becoming the one man whose focus remains unaffected by external heat. Deadlines, insults, algorithm shifts, group chats, conflict, everyone else reacts. You execute. Because you trained in silence when no one clapped. Because you structured your identity under pressure, not praise. Because you sacrificed stimulation for sovereignty. Comment, silence trained me. If they sit too close, it was meant for you. Let's drop deeper. You've learned isolation. You've structured rituals. You silenced chaos. Now you must train emotional immunity. This is where most powerful men collapse. They do everything right until something pokes their ego. A passive insult, a dry comment from someone irrelevant, a performance metric, a text with too many dots. And suddenly they're unraveling into overthinking, into explaining, into performing for people they secretly resent. Disrespect triggers them, fake praise blinds them, and soft criticism destabilizes them. But not you, not anymore. You are now in emotional cold training. Here's where you start. When you're triggered, wait 10 seconds. Don't speak. Don't type. Don't blink your value away. Pause. Let tension rise like a furnace. And then kill the urge to perform. You just beat 99% of men. Labeled the emotion. That's envy, that's shame, that's ego, that's insecurity mimicking logic. Name it. Then destroy its hold by ignoring it. Because when you unplug emotion from your attention, you multiply the intensity of your outcomes. The composed man isn't cold because he lacks passion. He's cold because he won't bleed for things that don't crown him. You are now that man. So, let the next disrespect slide through you and collapse behind you. Let the next loss whisper, not scream. You won't flinch, because emotions don't get to vote in your direction anymore. Subscribe if this is hidden deeper than motivation. We're not here for hype, we're building inner unshakability. You now enter your most powerful focus state, dangerous clarity. This is when focus stops being effortful and starts becoming your presence. No affirmation needed, no ambiance required. Now people ask how you stay so sharp, how you sit so still, how you get so much done while looking like you never rush. And the answer isn't a product, it's not a system, it's an identity. You've accepted that silence protects power and scattered action exposes weakness. You now guard your presence, like royalty guards blood wines. You look at every invite like a trap, every ping like it wants your throne, every conversation like it costs energy your mission will require tomorrow. Focus isn't just what you say yes to, it's what you bury without emotion so your crown doesn't slip. And Machiavelli would say, that's not obsession, that's survival. The rulers who survived, they didn't touch every problem. They preserved energy for where perception could be controlled. And in that, they outlasted the dramatists, the performers, the reactive mob. So take your lessons now. Refine your rituals, restructure your day, reevaluate your digital diet, revise your environment to demand focus. Set higher punishments for distraction, deliver heavier rewards for sharp work, and align all their output around one idea. Dominate your reality through unattainable intensity. Comment, crown secured if you're making this identity permanent. Let me leave you with the final shift. This isn't about being focused today. This is about becoming a man whose name is spoken with caution. A man whose time is expensive, whose absence is mysterious, whose behavior sets the tone, whose disciplines alter atmospheres, and whose silence carrying so much power. It ends conversations before they even begin. That's who you are now. Not because you talk like him, but because you move like him. And because soon, very soon, they won't really know how to joke around you. They'll lower their voice, watch their phrasing, take you seriously, or stop speaking altogether. And in that shift, you will no longer be focused. You'll be feared, admired, respected, without ever teaching those around you how. Because by then, they will already know.